Welcome to the Fairy Podcast with Winslow. My name is Winslow Vale, and I'm the founder of Fairy School. I'm here to create a safe space for you to explore your imagination, your heart magic, and the mysteries of the fairy worlds. This is a perfect time for you to connect with the fairies, to ask questions, share your dreams, and discover fairy practices and stories that can help you build more self-love, healthy happiness, and inner calm. The fairies are so glad you are here. As we begin, we invite you to take a deep breath into your belly, to relax your body, and to feel the curiosity flowing in your heart. Now, slip into your magical fairy clothes, feel your wings gently unfold, and awaken your fairy senses as you learn, imagine, and grow at Fairy School. Today you'll hear from Dr. Salo Stanley, who has so much wisdom and information to share with you about the fairies, and also the nature spirits, the trees, the plants, and other beings of love and light who you might be interested in learning about. So we'll have a conversation with her, and then at the end, we'll bring in a practice that connects your creativity with nature and your heart. Hello, Salo. Thanks so much for joining us on the Fairy Podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, it's so good to have you. And I know you have so much amazing information to share with especially the kids listening. But just to begin, do you want to share with us what you do or a little bit about you from a perspective that the kids could understand?
Well, yeah, I can say a lot. Well, really, I always think, first of all, you got to believe in magic in the universe, no matter what you do. And but to do that everyday thing that adults do, I was a chiropractor in California for 33 years and also a sound therapist for 20 plus years. And made my own magical tuning forks that I use on acupuncture points on the body to help people feel more relaxed and more like themselves. Because when we become adults, we sometimes lose that magic. And I think when I like play music on their body, if you want to think sound therapy that way, it helps them remember who they are, like that childlike experience, that enthusiasm, that magic within them, so they don't forget who they are. And you know how sometimes adults can be very serious about things and sometimes kind of grumpy and always feel like these responsibilities in the universe? Well, I think it's important to keep that sense of magic within ourselves. And so I like playing music. I play the Native American flute. I play the drums. I do all those things that I used to do when I was a kid, but has never lost. And I love sharing the enthusiasm with others because it just really brightens their day. And of course, when you do it outside, of course, the fairy divas and all the nature divas gather around you, and sometimes adults forget to see them. They lost seeing them. And with children, if we can instill that in you guys to not forget who you are, that you can see these magical fairy divas and trees. Oh my gosh, trees are so important. And I just love it because of the fact that, oh my gosh, Winslow, you just really turned me on to a beautiful book because I just wanted to look up, what you look like, and I like to tune in energetically. And I love this book. It's Marjorie Spock,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Fairy Worlds and Workers. I mean, way around, what was 1908, or I don't know when she wrote it, but it was like
Right, like so
years.
long, like 100 years ago or more.
Oh, is she, I believe in magic, and everything she says in that book is so true. I mean, I'm really kind of galactic too. I come from, and we could talk about that sometime too, about the other galaxies and different planets and things that do exist.
Mhm.
I'm just more galactic. So sometimes I'm not really as familiar with some of the stories and folklore down here on planet Earth. And you just opened up a whole world to me this morning that I almost lost. I had a hard time getting on because I was so engrossed in this book, you know? And so, she was talking about how important the trees are, that the tree of life, which is the symbol of all the wisdom, which I make in my art too, because I'm also an artist. And, knowing the true purpose about it, she said in her book, the tree of life grows at the heart of fairyland. With fairies, it helps draw the sap of heaven down here on earth through the trees. And it brings it down into the deep, deep roots. And that's why we're so in awe of forests when we walk in there because it's magical. It's like, there's the symbology of the Wizard of Oz and in the forest with the apples. And the story that I had that I went to Italy, Damanhur, years ago in 2008, where I wanted to go see, I heard that the plants play music, where they hook electrodes up to the plants, and this was way back in 2008, where the plants actually, when you hook electrodes up to them, they learn to play through the synthesizer, the keyboard, the piano, music. And I heard about that legend, and I heard how they were considered, star beings or time travelers that came back in time to this place in Damanhur, Italy, to make temples and sacred space 5 stories underneath the ground. And they interacted with the divas and the fairies and the gnomes who keep those rooted metals and earth in there so solid to help ground in this energy to help bring in right now what we're having, the age of Aquarius. I mean, they did this hard work. And so I had this dream and they said, go to Italy, Salo, go and play your flute, your Native American flute in that temple. Well,
Mm.
I contacted them, and of course, they're kind of a little bit of a cliquish. They don't trust a lot of outsiders in a way because, sometimes the people that work with the fairy divas, they're very, cautious. And so I went off season and they said, yes, come play your flute. Because in the dream, they told me some names of people that just got born and nobody would know it. So that way they would trust me. And in
Mm.
the dream, they told me the name Aurora and that she was very musical and carried a lot of fairy energy. And so I said, well, when I was talking to him on the phone, I said, well, I had this dream, and this person, Aurora, came in and invited me to your village. And they said, oh my God, Salo, nobody knows that. We had a baby that was just born 3 days ago, and her name's Aurora. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I flew to Italy with my partner and we got off there and we went to Torino and stayed there. And then we took a train to go up to Damanhur because it was up in the mountains right near the border of the Swiss border in Italy. Oh my God, it's so pretty and magical. And so when we went there, they said, well, we have tree people here. And I says, tree people? And they said, yes, we have people that are the keeper of the trees in the forest here. And they live in tree houses, and I'm not making this up. They lived in tree houses, and they were the keeper of the plants that played music there. And would you like to take your flute and go play music with the plants? And I said, oh my gosh, yes, I would. And so we drove up there on this little windy road, and we went out there and all these little wooden structures that were in the trees and the trees were like also sometimes they were like grown in circles and I know that my angels and guides tell me that fairy circles and that's very sacred and for the trees to grow like that was just so amazing. And so I climbed up this really steep staircase and I remember walking through the door and then I could see all the little fairy lights that were like on the porch around the bases of the tree and when I walked in that room, I heard music playing, and it just sounded to me like somebody was playing a CD of Enya, and I said, "Oh, do you have Enya playing?" They go, "Oh no, Solo, those are the plants playing." And I went, "Really?"
You could actually hear the music.
Yes, they had it. They had the plants hooked with little metal electrodes that they clipped on their little leaves. And then it was electrical current that went to the piano keyboard. And then they hooked amplifiers of speakers so you can hear them playing the music. And so they said usually they have to train the plants about a good 3 months before they start playing kind of music. And because their consciousness is there, but they're not sure. And then they have like some plant starts to play like kind of like the bass, like in music, and then
Mhm.
other ones play higher notes. And then after a while, after 3 months, they get it and they just start playing all this beautiful music together. And
Wow.
so it takes time. So their
Like an
keepers there.
orchestra, a plant
Yes.
orchestra.
Yes, they had the heavier plants on the bottom that played bass, which was really interesting, I found. They had the more like very wispy little leaves and stuff played the higher notes. It's
Oh,
like, I
this
mean,
is
isn't that amazing? It's like
so
magic.
amazing, so magical, and so inspiring.
Yes, and so they told me too that they also did research there with the animals and the nature divas and the plants, especially the plants. Because they're very intelligent. Not saying that the rest isn't intelligent, but it's so earthy, and they give us oxygen, they give us life. But they actually put a plant on a little kitchen cart that had wheels on it, and they actually hooked electrodes to electronics that Abel was able to move that cart around. So the the plants over time learned how to move the cart and move around the apartment where the owner lived. And so they did this research and they found that like 5 minutes before the person was going to come home from work, they had a video camera on there and they would start inching towards the doorway to where their owner was coming through the doorway.
It's so
It's like,
amazing.
it was so amazing. So they told me these stories there. So they said, Salo, would you love to play your Native American flute? And I said, yes. And the thing that I have to explain about being a musician is that when you play the Native American flute, it's only about 7 or 8 notes, and it's in the chordal structure of minor notes, which would be in the piano, the black keys. So
Hmm.
if you and Irving Berlin used to always love playing, composing just using the black keys. He wasn't very good of a musician, but he'd make the tunes, which is the black keys. And you know how when we're kids, we love playing with the black keys because it made
Totally.
some more.
Those are the fun ones.
Aren't they the fun ones?
Hmm.
Yes. And so the plants found those are the fun ones too. But they mostly learned to really kind of play with the chromatic scale, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But usually harmonicas or Native American flutes are usually in minor keys, which are the black keys. So when I started playing with them, they just kept on going do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Like they were bringing it on, like, come on, play do, re. And I couldn't on my flute. So after 20 minutes, I just got so frustrated because I couldn't play with them. And it's funny how we are adults, and I think we do this as kids too. Like we get so frustrated when we can't do something right away.
Right.
And
Yeah.
my partner said, Salo, why don't you just be yourself and don't try to play with them? Why don't you just close your eyes and play a song no matter what else is
Mm.
around you? And so I took a deep breath in and I just started playing my song. I like one of the songs I love playing is Awakening in Sedona, which is um, I would call the sounding note of my soul because we all have a sounding note of our soul and we can play
Mm.
that in music. And
Like a
so I
heart
started playing,
song.
yeah, the heartbeat, it's your beingness, it's who you are, it's your authenticity. It's
Mm.
where we're a frequency where everybody can always find you,
Yeah.
no matter where
Heart,
you are
your
in the
heart
universe.
home.
Yes. And
Yeah.
people find you with that note. And I thought, well, maybe if I played that, they'll find me. And so
Mm.
I started playing the flute and a few notes, and then I started playing my song. And before I know it, after a few seconds, they went from the white keys to the black keys. They started playing music with me. And I went, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." They have such a consciousness that it makes me want to cry just thinking about it right
Right.
now.
Like it was so heart filling.
Oh yeah, it just brought you to different realms. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like when you play with kids that get you,
Hmm.
that know who you are, and you hardly have to talk, and you have
Right.
that telepathy or that mind connection, that heartfelt connection. And it was
Right.
so beautiful that I just felt I had this telepathic connection with them, that I understood what they were saying to me in that moment when we were playing music, because it's like light language. Light language speaks to the soul without words. Light
Mm.
language has a feeling, it's emotion. We get so bound up here on planet Earth using words for self-expression that no wonder children get so frustrated when they become adults
Right.
because we've lost light language. We've lost our psychic abilities. We've lost our intuition.
Yeah. And Salo, do you want to actually just share a little bit about light language for children? Because they might not know that they have that they could
Yes.
practice it.
Yes. Light language is like a symbol. It's like, for example, if you see a circle, I mean, don't you as kids love making circles,
Mhm.
and drawing, and
Yeah.
then pretty soon sometimes you'll make like a triangle, or a square, and then pretty soon the square becomes a house because the side of the house has a triangle on it, and then the rectangle underneath it, and then we're going to make another little square but a little taller to make the chimney. So kids automatically know the symbols, right? And they look at something very creative or artistically and they draw it. Or like the sun, when you see it, it's really just a ball of light, but we also, as children, love to draw a circle, right? And then we make we see the radiating light, but as kids, we'll just draw lights, little lines outward,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
And they're
lines.
doing it instinctively because light does radiate everything out, and so does fairies. Fairies look like the sun. And
Mm.
I would tell children, if you want to see a fairy, just imagine little balls of the sun going around the plants. Just visualize those little symbols. And so in the olden days, I guess the best way I could say it is we all spoke to each other with symbols in a way of not really having to use words because we all used telepathy. We all had this sense of inner knowingness of who each other is. And there was a time in our history where we began to lose that state of our consciousness and get so dense down here that we forgot that. We forgot that light language that we can do when we draw for each other. And
That's beautiful, Solo. And for children too, with the telepathy, can you speak a little bit more about that too? Is that a heart connection? Is that it's like using your senses
yes, using
beyond
your
your
senses.
mind?
Yeah, like feeling and touch. And it's like how when you play with your friends and you're just having such a great time and you're not even talking with each other. You're like building sand dunes and and making little fairies talk with each other or whatever. And you just have that little joy in your heart and you're
Mhm.
playing with your friends. You don't have to say anything. You're both being joyful in that moment. And
Mm.
so that means that you're really connecting in a heartfelt connection, but also your body is also connecting because your body is a lot more intelligent than our mind because we get taught things by our parents and society, and we start to lose that magic. And when really you have to look inward, how does your body feel about doing something? I always tell this to children or their parents, even when I'm counseling them on the phone, how does it feel? And if it feels yucky, then there's something you need to pay attention about. And if
Mm.
it feels really good, then it's like, okay, you're doing something that's like really making the fairies happy, yourself happy, and the world happy
Mm.
because you're generating that sun that we talked about, that light from the inside out. And people feel that and children feel it. And adults have sometimes forgotten about it because they have so much to pay the bills and they have to have so many responsibilities and things weigh so heavy on them. And part of that is because they forgot the magic. And I would say to every child is don't forget the magic, to remember who you are and don't let that go, no matter what adults say. Never ever let that go. And I have a story with one of my friends that had a 8-year-old that I picked up. She goes, "Can you pick my son up from school?" And I said, yes. And so she said, here's some money to go take him to McDonald's. And then he needs to do his homework if you want to help him with his homework. And I said, fine. So I took him to McDonald's and he was having a hamburger and he was talking about dragons and some shows that he liked. And he says, but yeah, but they're not like really real. And I said, oh no. I said, dragons are real. I go, I've seen a dragon and I just haven't forgotten. And I try to keep myself kind of like that childlike experience so that way I can see them and feel them and know them and they can talk to you. And if you believe in the magic, and the word believe means just to be in the moment, right? B-E. And the word believe has the word live in it, L-I-V-E. You have to be and live. And then just don't live the lie because in believe there is the word L-I-E.
Right. And Salo, you're such an amazing example because you are in your 60s and
Yeah,
you
I'm
have
69.
59 and you have that curiosity, that joy in your heart. And so what would be one step or one little thing kids could do to connect with their magic more, their heart magic? One thing that would help them anchor it in so that they do have it for their whole life.
I would say creativity is the most important thing here on planet Earth, that we are all creators.
Mm.
And be it playing music with a musical instrument, be it drawing, painting, um, building fairy houses, helps you help connect to the magic because, oh my God, fairies love having houses. Because when I went to Damanhur too, they showed me all the fairy houses that they built. They said, Salo, the fairies have consciousness and they want to interact in their realm. And sometimes they're in the middle realm. They're between worlds, between this 3D reality or this planet Earth that we live on that looks so real. And then there's heaven, right? It's another dimension, but they're in between both realms. But when you build them a house, they have a place to live. They have a place to interact. And they're so happy. They can project their consciousness there first, like their thoughts,
Mhm.
because imagination is everything.
Mm.
Einstein even said that. That's how you become a creator. So if there's one thing they can do is imagine what you want. Imagine what you want to draw. Imagine the music that you want to play. Imagine you being the best sports player on soccer. That is magic too. Whatever your creativity or what gives you joy, you will never be steered wrong. And to never lose it, no matter what anyone says, you will be such a magnificent being when you grow up. That's how you change the planet. We see so much strife here and change happening, and earth changes with the weather, and certain things that kind of make us sad. But if you as a child can remember that and not forget it, that's how you change the world because when you have enough people believing, fantasy becomes reality when enough minds agree. And so my vote is I'm agreeing for the positivity and the magic, and I'm not forgetting about it no matter what anyone says. I'm going to be me. And that's what I would say to these little children. You be you no matter what anybody says. You have to believe in yourself. That's how you create the magic.
That's so beautiful, Salo. It feels so important and exciting.
Yes, I am so excited for all the new kids that are on the planet. They are so activated with their DNA of light, and that's like your just beingness is a little bit, you've come here, you children, with such wisdom more than us adults. And
Mhm.
you are special, and don't let anyone forget about it. And just your mere presence here and your magic is going to make this such a world community of connection, of community and solar power and organic food and people doing the jobs that they love to do, not sitting behind a 9 to 5 job that they're unhappy with or being a slave to society. And I have to say it that way, that has been where you are the freedom. You are breaking free of what this world has been, and you are the new magic here on the planet. And I
Mm.
am so honored to be this old to see the progress that has happened and now see the new children coming in. It just makes me cry.
Salo, it's true. And it's like all of you children listening, it's like you have your heart magic, you have your wisdom, you have your what you love to do, that creativity that Salo is talking about. And also, Salo, it's thank you so much for bringing in all those pieces about the music and the nature spirits and the fairies because that's so cool and that's new to
Yes,
many of
well,
us. I haven't even heard that story.
and the thing is, the more of us that remember this, we can go into that unity consciousness because we are one. No one is better than anyone else. We are all, have this spirit within ourselves that is just as important as the next person. And so the more of us that remember that, and I would also tell the children, don't let anyone ever take away your confidence. Don't You got to always believe in yourself. And if you don't lose that belief, then there's like no stopping you, whatever you want to do, even if you want to be your own boss. And like Winslow, with her dream, fairy letters, and she's bringing the magic back here on planet Earth and having this podcast so other people can hear it and get the magic out there. It's like such a cool move. Isn't that a better movement right now than anything political? It's like we're going to do a fairy movement here.
No, and we can, and as you said, it's like a few of the things I'm thinking that I loved is also how we can build the fairy houses, bring the
Yeah,
fairies, that
they
they're
like
so
the fairy
happy with
houses
that, the
and
creativity.
creativity, and they love the joy of music. When you play music for them, they'll come and sit on the rocks. I mean, because there are little fairy divas and nature divas that live in the rocks. And I learned this in Sedona, Arizona. And they all came out when I went to the canyons when I first got my Native American flute. And that's a whole new story of how I got into playing the Native American flute. And I automatically knew how to play it because my body just automatically remembered from, other lifetimes. Um, I saw them come out. The rock people helped me play my flute. It's because I
Oh,
believed in
that's
it.
so cool.
I know.
And
It's
would
like,
that be something that children could do if they play an instrument or if they don't play an
mhm.
instrument, singing would be the same.
Yes. And singing is the same too. And singing is a form of light language. It's melody. And you're giving those little symbols, but instead of, seeing the symbols, you're singing the symbols because, and I know this might be complicated, but in cymatics, when you put a sand on a vibrating plate and you play a certain frequency of a note, it starts to form a symbol like a circle. And as you increase the frequency, that symbol becomes two circles and then three circles. And then it forms in sacred geometry what they call the flower of life. And I notice a lot of children draw the flower of life naturally, the circles, and then they start forming flowers. And kids always draw flowers, right?
Right?
It is the birthing of everything in the universe. And they didn't forget. So even when they sing, they're doing light language. They're
Mm,
changing the world.
that's
They're
so,
calling in
yeah.
the fairy divas, and they love sparkly things and they love gifts, getting gifts. They love being talked to each day. I know I talk to them when I'm, especially the trees when I go for my morning walk. There's a whole street of trees and they're very ancient. And sometimes, and it's funny, sometimes the trees are like very um, thoughtful and wisdom giving at times, and other times, sometimes they have a grumpy day and I have to recognize
Yeah, they
that. And
have
I'm like,
emotions too. They feel
yeah,
happy,
they get.
they feel sad, they feel frustrated.
Yeah, they have grumpy days too. So just to let them know that happens too. It's like, and I remember the trees, the apple trees in the Wizard of Oz throwing apples and how grumpy they were. Well, that tree on that street, I'd always tell my partner, that movie, The Wizard of Oz, with that scene, those trees are like that today. So,
I
so,
love
so,
that solo. Well, and I have, as we wrap up, I have a question because I know sometimes kids are confused about, it's like sometimes you get a letter from the fairies and it's physical and you can feel it. And then sometimes you don't get a physical letter. And sometimes it's confusing of like, are they really real? How do they write a letter or they don't?
well, I would say sometimes that the fairies, I think us as humans can bring in a part of our what we call our higher self. It's another
Like our fairy
magical part of
self
ourself.
or
Yeah, like
our
yes,
magical
and that what
self?
happens is that depending on what your energy is, I mean, sometimes people like for me, I have magic of the flute and I bring in the cocopelli. So when I play music, I know the cocopelli spirit comes around me and helps me play music. And
Mm,
so there is a part of the consciousness of themselves, a part of themselves can be fairy.
mhm,
We all, and genetically too. I mean, we could talk a whole program about that there are people that have pointy ears, and I kind of have a little pointy ear, so I'm a little elfish at times. And other people have really big floppy ears, and they're called the Hathors from Egypt that actually do music and sound healing. And so that there are genetic things in our body that we are actually living elves and living fairies, and we have our angels are fairies sometimes, and so that's how they can write letters. Like through you, Winslow, your spirit diva or spirit comes in to help you write the letters, and
Right.
it helps you know what to say to what people need, and it's very magical. And so you've had many lifetimes working with the nature parts of planet Earth, and from that it's gotten to a masterful session right now of what you're doing for the planet. And so it can happen. They help us do things here because we're
Right.
all one. We're not separate, right?
Mhm.
So we are
Yeah.
all, we're that fairy and that fairy is us. We're that cat in the house and the cat is us,
Yes.
or it's like
Like
they're
you're your
reflections
favorite
of.
you could be your favorite animal or
Yes.
whatever that is, the mermaid or
And and
unicorn.
there's a piece of us in them. There's a
Mhm.
piece of them in us. And
Mhm.
so they sometimes come and they help us with when we're having a sad day. They're helping us when we're having a cheerful day. They sometimes lead us to places that we need to be. And it's just a matter for us to know that we believe and we listen and perk up our ears and listen, or perk up our heart and how's it feel on our body, that it feels right. Sometimes kids could be more visual. They can close their eyes. They love looking at clouds and making animals out of them. That's not your imagination. You're really seeing it. You are the creator. It's fun. You're creating these wonderful magical clouds. If you want to see an elephant, just sit on the lawn, look up at them, say, I want to see an elephant today. And before you know it, you're going to see an elephant. And kids are going, oh my God, I created that today. What else
Right.
can I create?
Uh-huh. So it's like believe in your heart, believe in your imagination.
Yes, as Einstein says, imagination's everything, and that's how this planet works. It is like if kids are into computers and everything, it's a big computer and it depends on what you want to program into it. And now that AI is here, it's like, okay, you write a question on the AI, right?
Right.
You're like, what you're doing is you want to create magic, right? So you're feeding the prompt and then you let the program run. You
Right.
don't you feed the prompt and let the program run. So you, with your imagination, say what you want and then forget about it. Let it run. And then before you know it, you run into that magic.
Oh, I love that, Salo. That's the best. Well, we're so grateful for all your information and all this. It feels like a lot of inspiring wisdom you've brought in that's new
Oh,
for
I
many
love
of
that.
us. And
Oh,
so
I
I think
just love
that's the
sharing. I just feel like
excitement.
I just feel so honored to be on your show today because I've been like, kind of cooped up here in Springfield, Illinois in the Midwest, which is quite different than California. And so just doing this helps me feel connected to the magic and it's fun. Not that it's not magical out here. I mean, it is, but it's just quite different.
Totally. And it's like when we hear your stories, it opens, even for me, it reminds me and opens up our hearts and our eyes and our ears to the possibilities.
Yes, nothing's impossible.
Things
It really isn't. That's what all the master yogis have said. We just have to get freedom from illusion.
impossible.
And the more that we concentrate on what we want and how we want it to look and how I always tell my clients, see it, feel it, be it. You got to see it first, then you feel it in your heart, and then before you know it, you're being it.
Mm. Thank you, Salo. That's so beautiful. And
Thank you.
and we'll hope to have you on again when
Oh, yeah.
more fairy stories arise.
Oh, yes, I would love that. I'm like a little kid. I love telling little stories, fairy stories,
Thank
and
you.
whatever in the universe. So
Oh,
thank
thank you,
you.
Salo. Hello again. As you think about that amazing conversation with Salo and all that you've learned and heard and discovered, this is a perfect moment to feel into your heart. Maybe you even place your hand on your heart. You can take a deep breath and to think about what is the one new practice, story, information you heard that makes you feel excited, that makes your heart want to sing and dance, that you're curious about. You want to see if it works for you. And that then is the pearl, the little jewel that you get to try and work for your own self. Because when you hear and have new information, you get to then bring it in for yourself in your own way and try practices, try it out for yourself. So one thing you could do is you could go out into nature and to look around you and to ponder the idea that all the trees around you are alive. They have their own spirit. And you could sing to the trees, you could write something, a story for the trees, you could create something for nature. It could be something that you love. So if you love sports, if you love dancing, if you love building fairy houses, if you love reading, if you love whatever you love, you could do something for nature. And imagine that all those nature spirits, the trees, the fairies, are there with you, receiving that gift that you're creating for them. So that's one simple practice to start practicing being in your creative heart, to start recognizing that nature also has spirits and has hearts, and you can actually connect with them. So have fun exploring what that practice will be for you. And you get to tie in what you love with your creativity and doing something for nature. You could do it in nature, or you could create the drawing in your home and then bring it out to nature. So it's however you want to do it, and whatever comes to mind is perfect for you and all your fairy and tree and nature friends. So have fun with that practice this week and hold that energy in your heart, an energy that you love. And we'll see what comes on our following podcasts. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining me and the fairies on our fairy podcast. It is an honor to have you with us. Take a moment to notice how much lighter and brighter you feel after connecting with the fairies and the beautiful energy of your own heart. If you want more opportunities to be part of Fairy School, the fairies have some special gifts for you. They would love to offer you a free month of fairy letters filled with fairy practices, fairy news, and fairy wonders. The fairies and I would also love to offer you a free 30-minute coaching session where you can connect with your heart magic and inner sparkle even more. And we host a free Fairy School class on YouTube Live every Monday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. You can find more information at winslowvale.com. We can't wait to share more fairy adventures, stories, and practices with you on our next episode. Thank you for listening. See you next time.